About what happened to my Honda CT70. I haven't actually made an update video since January. But I've done actually a lot of work on it, completely rebuilt the engine, and it's almost ready to be fired up. I put everything back together. As you can see, I got a new top and bottom end to the engine, so completely replaced the parts, and I bought a brand new exhaust. Really nice. I went for the black exhaust instead of chrome because this isn't actually going to be a show bike or anything. If you were going to just show it off and not drive it, you could get the chrome exhaust, but I chose to get just a simple black exhaust with a matte finish because I am going to be driving this thing around still, and it's going to get beat up and dirty. The old exhaust I tossed, but it was quite rusted and not doing so well. I can find the receipt for I don't know how much that exhaust cost. It was like at least $100, maybe $200. If I can find the receipt, I can tell you for sure how much that exhaust cost. But in the meantime, this is our old top and bottom end to the engine. As you can see, that's where the piston went. It's quite dirty. The main reason we need to get the new engine was to replace the rings in the piston. We were going to just buy new rings, but we figured might as well just get an entire new engine, and that was a couple $100 for that whole thing. This is the old top end. You can see there the old piston there. This was the biggest problem we had when we were hooking this all back up. So you have to get it in perfect alignment. Otherwise, you're going to have the timing off and you will blow up your engine. And that wasn't good. So I actually got one of these, Climber Service Manual. And I highly recommend these. They have the most detailed instructions in here on how to get everything right. So we used this to figure out, how to get the timing exactly right. Because what you have to do, this has to be perfectly aligned. The chain attached to this has to be perfectly aligned. That little wheel I showed you has to be perfectly aligned. Everything has to be perfect, top dead center. Otherwise, if your timing is even off by a millisecond, you could damage your components, and that'll be a costly mistake. Here was the old cap for that little wheel I was showing you. And there's damage all around the end of it because before we had the service manual, we had no idea how to take this off. Turns out there's that bolt running all the way through it, but we didn't know that. We thought we had to pry it off. So that resulted in some damage. And that's from simple carelessness. This is the cover here for the transmission, part of the engine. And really, this bike is actually ready to go. Everything's all assembled. Everything's working. We got a new spark plug in there. It's ready to run, except we need some 30-weight engine oil, which we don't have in supply right now in our garage, and we need some sort of sealant. You see this orange stuff? We need some more of that to sort of seal that cover back on here so no dust and debris or anything gets in there. It's your chain, and that's kind of a glimpse of the transmission. There's our nice shiny new engine. And another thing we need is bolts to mount the exhaust, because this here has these two bolts right there, and that is to mount your exhaust on, but this one actually does not have, see here, doesn't have those bolts. It didn't come with any bolts for that. So, and these can't be removed. So we have to get new bolts too. But aside from that, this project should be up and running within the week. And I'll have some footage with my GoPro HD Hero of actually riding this bike. Again, it's a 1979 CT70 Honda 72cc motor. And it's a very good bike. As you can see, 4,230 kilometers on this, so it's pretty well used. I doubt these are stock tires, because they don't really exhibit 4,200 kilometers of wear. But yeah, the first little period of driving this bike, about 100 miles or so, is going to be the break-in period, which is the most boring part of driving any vehicle, is breaking it in. Basically, in the Climber service manual, it describes the break-in period as basically 160 kilometers of about 1/3 throttle, so just a tiny bit of throttle. And you have to you shift through the gears, vary the throttle as much as possible, and sort of gently brake it in. Because if you go right off the bat and crank the throttle, you're just going to blow up your engine. There's so much compression. I mean, already noticing just by cranking it, I mean, there's not as much compression in this as, say, the KTM over there, which had a lot of compression. But this has noticeably more compression than it did back before the engine was rebuilt. So everything's all tight. You need to really get the rings and everything all settled in, the metal, so everything gets seated. And after a while, then you can finally, ride it to its fullest. Eventually get, up to full throttle. But you have to really baby it around for the bit. And I will make a video on how to sort of break in a bike. Because, essentially you need to treat it as it was new, straight out of the factory. With any vehicle you need to do this. With the KTM you need to do that. With R6 you need to break it in. Any vehicle, any car. No. Some cars you don't actually have to break them in. But like high-end sports cars, I know Ferraris. For a Ferrari you need to keep it under 4,000 RPM for the first 500 or so kilometers, maybe even 1,000 kilometers before you can fully open it up. So yeah, anything, you need to break all the components in, otherwise you'll break something and end up, back to square one with even more damage. But yeah, this is the simple update on the bike. Still not street legal, by the way, because, we have front lights, and we have brake lights. All we need is a battery, which will, the battery would go right in there. All we need is a new battery and some signal lights. And then this thing will be actually street legal. And maybe I'll get new tires, and maybe I'll get a new paint job on it. But, and maybe a new seat too. So this is a really comfy seat, but it's starting to exhibit some wear and tear. But yeah, this bike is, oh yeah, maybe get some new shocks too. That'd be kind of cool. But this bike is almost ready to run. And that'll be really exciting. I haven't drove this in almost a year since I broke it, or the engine decided to blow itself up in around August. So yeah, this is the bike. And stay tuned for more updated videos. I'm Chad, and